Am I the asshole for uninviting my sister-in-law from my wedding after she leaked my pregnancy? I, 26F, am 10 weeks pregnant. My partner, 28M, and I told our immediate families early, but made it very clear we weren't telling anyone else until after the first trimester. Last night, my fiancé's sister, 29F, posted a story on Instagram. It was a get ready with me for a family dinner we had last weekend. She then causally indirectly talks about becoming an auntie. She tagged me and my fiancé. I saw it when I got a notification that I was tagged. I had over 50 messages from distant friends and co-workers before I could even process it. We hadn't even told our friends yet. I was totally mad, called her screaming. She tried to say it was an accident and that she forgot and she was just teasing. I told her she was uninvited from our wedding. She cried. My future in-laws are furious, saying I'm overreacting and ruining the family over a silly social media post. They say I should just be happy people are excited. My fiancé is on my side. Not the asshole. Not only did she go against your wishes, she also took away your joy of making that announcement yourselves. It wasn't an accident. She made a social media post. That was on purpose. There really isn't any coming back from that in regards to your relationship with her. She's basically ruined that forever. You cannot trust her, just remember that. As far as uninviting her from your wedding, I get it. I may have gone the route of removing her from the wedding party and making her just a plain old guest. Also, lesson learned. Don't tell anyone about any future pregnancies or anything that you don't want people to know until you actually want them to know. So was it an accident or was she teasing? Because I'm pretty sure those would contradict each other here. I'm not so convinced this was exalted an accident. And if that's the case, I wouldn't want someone like that around in general, not just at my wedding. Enta. And your in-law's reaction says it all. You made it clear you wanted no one to know other than those you personally told. After your Sil told everyone, your in-laws said you should just be happy people are excited. I would seriously rethink how involved I want them in my child's life after this. Apparently, your boundaries and wants mean nothing to them. Your fiancé is on your side. That is all that matters. Not the asshole. At all. However, if you want to calm the family ruckus down, you could offer her a chance to earn her invite back. All she would have to do is delete the post and make another apologizing for sharing news she knew she shouldn't, just to get likes and comments. The new post has to go up immediately and stay up through the wedding. If she does that, she can attend. Am I the asshole for refusing to sell my house to a landlord? I bought a fixer-upper in my 20s with my now ex. I bought him out, but agreed to give him back his portion of deposit he paid upon sale whenever that may be. We remained friends as we've known each other since childhood. Regardless of that, I still plan to stick to my work 8 years later. I told him I was in the process of selling the house. He asked me if I had any offers, and I told him yeah, but from a few landlords. I didn't think that needed further explanation because he knows full well how I feel about landlords buying up starter homes in lower income areas, and how strongly I felt about turning this house into a home for myself and the next occupants. He's absolutely furious at me for not going for a quick sale because he wants his measly 5K back _now_. I told him no way, and tried to remind him of all the offers we made on starter homes that just got swept up by landlords. It was devastating, and we almost lost all hope of getting on the property ladder. None of them wanted this one because it needed so much work. He's blowing my phone up and told my parents, who are more gently telling me to just go for the easy sale, but I'm in no rush to move and want all my hard work to go to a family instead of someone's business. Am I the asshole? Edit. Giving him the 5K specifically from the sale has been discussed over messages many times in the past. If I just give him 5K now, he could still say I owe him from the sale of the house. Getting him out was a nightmare, as he can be pretty nasty. Most of the time he's fine, but he suddenly switches and goes to war with people. Edit. Giving him the 5K specifically from the sale has been discussed over messages many times in the past. If I just give him 5K now, he could still say I owe him from the sale of the house. Invest a few hundred in lawyer's fees and get a formal agreement drafted that this is the 5K he is entitled to, paid in advance of the sale of the house rather than after. It's not complicated. You say he can be nasty, but he wants a quick sale so he can get his money, so he has every incentive to agree to this because he gets his money now. If I just give him 5K now, he could still say I owe him from the sale of the house. Not if he signs a release in exchange for the $5,000. Not the asshole. You don't owe a landlord a sale, and you don't owe your ex instant cash. You're selling responsibly and sticking to your values, nothing wrong with that. Not the asshole. He can be patient and suck it up. It's your house, you bought him out, and your choice. If you don't want to sell to a rich asshole who's only going to use the place for a quick profit, that's your choice and both your ex and parents can butt out. If you're able, just give him the $5,000 before you sell the house so he stops pestering about it and is removed from the equation. ETA. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. Info. I don't understand how you bought him out, but still owe him money? I just pay him the $5,000 now and remove him from the equation. Am I the asshole for expecting my wife to visit my family for the holidays? My wife, 32, and I, 33, married over 2 years ago, and she is still salty about what my parents wore to the wedding. My dad wore jeans with a blazer, and my mom wore a Patagonia-like vest under a silk shirt that was clearly visible and Crocs. I understand that was definitely not wedding-appropriate attire, and I did tell them what to wear. However, having dealt with them my entire life, I cannot say I'm surprised. She says she is upset because our wedding photos were not nice to look at, and she never framed them. My dad also yelled at the waiter, which was bad, yes, but she didn't know until after the wedding, and my sister managed to get him under control, so it didn't impact the wedding. We fought about this a few days at the end of the wedding. But it died down, and we stopped discussing it partly because my parents live 7 hours away, so she never interacted with them after the wedding. She told me then she wasn't visiting my family, and I took it to mean that year, which was fine as the memory was too fresh, but she actually meant never. We had our son 8 months ago, and she refuses to come to see my parents for the holidays. I would understand if it was that she wasn't feeling well, but she is feeling amazing because she hiked for hours the previous weekend and wants to go skiing again this season. She basically just doesn't want to interact with my family. My parents are not easy to deal with. My dad is not friendly, and he is bitter from being unaccomplished, so that basically has left him with a miserable attitude. However, visiting once a year and sucking it up for a few hours a day when he hasn't actually blown up or made comments towards my wife beyond at the beginning when he said he doesn't liking her profession and not to her face doesn't seem unreasonable for her to dislike him that much. But she refuses, and traveling with an 8-month-old is incredibly difficult. She is still breastfeeding him, but has some frozen milk built up, and thinks I should accept her not wanting to visit my parents by either bringing the frozen milk to feed him for a few days, or I go alone. I tried to tell her it is really rude not to at least try to get along, and if there is a fight she won't need to interact with them again, but she straight up refuses. I feel like I'm being made the asshole for expecting her to do this, but speaking with colleagues and close friends, most have family they do not like, and most do not like their in-laws, and still make an effort to at least go once a year, but my wife says they ruined her wedding photos, so she not visiting them makes them even. So you want to force your wife to take a small baby on a 7-hour car ride and then be mistreated by your parents? What kind of holiday is that? Maybe when they show respect they'll get some in return. You are the asshole. You want her to spend her baby's first Christmas in a stressful environment with a clearly unsupportive husband. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. Your parents sound like awful people. They have put down your wife to you, disrespected your wedding, and made zero effort to see their grandchild. Why in the world would you expect her to make any effort where they are concerned? You are the asshole for next gift-giving occasion this year. Pay for someone to Photoshop your parents out of the wedding photos and have them printed for her. You are the asshole. Asking her to spend the holidays with your mess of a family is a bridge too far. So, let me make sure I understand. Your parents have shown disrespect for your wife. Traveling with an infant for 7 hours anywhere is incredibly difficult. You have tried to minimize and belittle her feelings. What have you and your parents done to try to make an obligatory visit more pleasant and agreeable for your wife? It sounds like you are demanding she make all the sacrifices to avoid being really rude to parents who have shown little respect or kindness to your wife. You are the asshole. Am I the asshole for refusing to acknowledge my mom's $300 visa payment and making her cry? So backstory, about 10 years ago my mom, now 69, had racked up a massive amount of credit card debt. She was unemployed, facing eviction, and in a really bad spot. At the time I couldn't afford to help pay her bills, so instead I moved her into my house with me, my husband, and our 2 kids. We sold most of her stuff to help pay things down. For 6 years she lived with us rent-free. We covered her groceries, utilities, and basically everything. Every cent she got from the government went straight toward her debt. It wasn't easy, but eventually, she paid it all off. Once she was debt-free, I helped get her onto social assistance and into low-income senior housing. She's been on her own for about 3 years now. I still have access to her accounts, mostly just to keep an eye on things and make sure she stays stable. Recently, I got a notification that her visa was over the limit. This card was only supposed to be for emergencies, but when I looked at her statement, it was full of stuff like mobile games, restaurants, and random purchases. Nothing necessary. I called her to talk about it. I told her I couldn't help her anymore, and that she'd have to figure it out on her own. To be clear, she never asked me for money. She said she'd handle it. But she got really upset when I refused to acknowledge that she had made a $300 payment on the card. She started crying, saying she is trying, and I still shut her down because I was frustrated and didn't want to give her credit for backsliding again. Now I feel conflicted. On one hand, I've already sacrificed so much for years to help her, and I can't keep bailing her out. On the other hand, she's 69, she cried, and I do feel like maybe I was too harsh in that moment by not giving her any acknowledgement for at least paying something. So, am I the asshole for refusing to acknowledge her payment and making her cry? Not the asshole. I've got a mom in a similar situation. All my life she favored my sister over myself and my brother. My sister has completely looted my mom's house of anything valuable and either sold it off or given it to her own kids. Mom can't stay off the internet and has her bank account cleared out more than once by scammers. She came to me for help, and I gave it. For a bit. But the arrogance and hubris of her is just astonishing. I finally just cut her off and said to get help from her favorite child, who can't stand to be in the same room with her. I cut contact completely. Sometimes it's all you can do for your sanity. Why does she still have credit cards? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. This was a sort of intervention from your side. You talked to your mom about racking up frivolous credit card debt that were over the limit. She may have cried, but in some situations tough love is needed. Your mom needs to understand how important it is to maintain financial stability, and also that you are not going to be her safety net all the time. Good on you for talking to your mom before she went down the debt spiral again. And yes, you can't keep bailing her out each time she puts herself into trouble financially. Not the asshole. Those crocodile tears were an attempt to manipulate you and deflect the conversation to be about an imaginary thing you did wrong instead of a real thing she did wrong. Sounds like she shouldn't have any credit cards at all, though as long as she's considered competent, I guess there's no real way to take them away. Her tears are a manipulation. Not the asshole. Of course she cried. You sacrificed so much for her already. She is the cause of her own misery. She refuses to change her financial habits. She can deal with the consequences. I don't know, maybe try to put a conservatorship in place. She obviously can't be responsible for herself financially. Might be the best way to go about it. That way you can get rid of the credit cards, which seem to be the majority of your mother's spending problems. Truthfully, overall, it's a huge problem for the world. But she should know better by now.